Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Atul Mishra, your host. You're watching TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. Today, we have a very special guest with us. His name is Jason Miller. He is the CEO of GETTR app, which is called the Marketplace of Ideas. He was also a senior advisor to President Donald Trump, and he is also an acclaimed columnist. Welcome to TFI Global, Jason. How are you doing?
Atul, it's great to be with you. It's an honor to be speaking with the Indian people, and this is very exciting times.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Jason, let me begin by asking you the most obvious question. What led to the idea of GETTR?
Great question. I get that quite a bit. Why did we launch GETTR in the summer of 2021? And the reason is simple. Over the previous year or year and a half, we saw the worst year for political discrimination in U.S. history, whether it be people in the big tech community censoring or shadow banning or deplatforming those who dared to say that COVID came from a lab in Wuhan, which it did. We saw people censored or shadow banned for simply criticizing Dr. Anthony Fauci, effectively our leading health minister handling the COVID policies. And then we saw, of course, the outright censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the fall of 2020, just before the presidential election, which showed a lot of the alleged improprieties of the foreign dealings of the Biden family. And so what a lot of folks in India might not realize is just before the election, the New York Post, the oldest newspaper in the United States, published an expose with a number of files that were on a laptop that Hunter Biden had left at a computer store, showing his deals with China and Ukraine and others. And Twitter and Facebook and YouTube all came together and said nobody could share the story. And this had a massive impact on the election. So having worked for President Trump and seeing firsthand the political discrimination that was happening, I realized we need to have our own social media platforms. What I did not realize or fully appreciate, I should say, until I started helping to put GETTR together, is the fact that people all over the world are having struggles against big tech, whether they be in India or Brazil or the UK. And this is truly a global problem that these 3 billionaires in Silicon Valley are dictating the free speech rights of democratic peoples all around the world.
Right. That's a wonderful answer. Of course, like you rightly mentioned, that people around the globe are having problems with a certain set of people, with a certain set of ideologies controlling what we speak, how we speak, where we speak, when we speak. So they do have an iron control on the whole dialogue exchange process in the world. In India as well, Twitter, Facebook, all the big tech giants that tend to lean a little, not a little, I mean, a lot towards the left, and the right voice, the conservative voice, it does not have, a lot of representation, which has led to some applications. For instance, in India, there is an app called Coup, which is doing pretty well. It was started in retaliation to Twitter itself, because in India also some right-wing guys, people from the conservative spectrum, they got deplatformed. But then I'll ask you a follow-up question to the question that I asked about the idea of GETTR. And the follow-up question is, how much of an effect did the deplatforming of Donald Trump himself had on the creation of GETTR? Was it the immediate cause?
Yeah, another great question about the deplatforming of President Trump and the impact that it had. I will admit that I'm someone who was skeptical that big tech would ever deplatform a sitting president of the United States. Right. And when other members of our team on President Trump's team would say they're going to kick him off, I'd say, no, you guys are being hyperbolic. You guys are doing the whole Chicken Little, the sky is falling. There's no way that they would deplatform a sitting president of the United States. But that's exactly what they did. And frequently when I'm asked the question, if I could have done one thing differently in 2020 as a senior advisor to President Trump, what would it have been? And I say we should have developed our own social media platform so that President Trump couldn't be kicked off of social media, or even though that happened after the election, the way they would put up warnings and labels and even put President Trump in digital jail, so to speak, for stretches of time. Right. But also, as we look around the world, again, this is not a problem that's unique to the United States. Obviously, Prime Minister Modi has had his own challenges with Twitter, wanting to come in and regulate how he talks about whether it be Hindu populism or disputed territories in Kashmir. I mean, look at the fact that Twitter, for example, allows the Taliban to have an account on their platform, but not President Trump. That kind of tells you everything you need to know.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's a wonderful answer. Okay. Speaking about GETTR, so now we have a fair idea, and I hope everyone who's listening to me right now has a fair idea of why we need GETTR and what led Jason to create this social media revolution called GETTR. So see, I joined GETTR about 4 months back, and I have seen the phenomenal rise myself. And I have also seen you welcoming people who join GETTR with a very nice, heartwarming message. So what do you think is leading to this phenomenal rise of GETTR? Is it people who are generally frustrated with the big tech, who probably are, typically from the conservative spectrum of politics, in American context, say, white American patriots, or in Indian context, maybe the Hindu nationalists, so to speak? So what do you think is contributing to the phenomenal rise of GETTR as far as users are concerned?
So over the course of, I can speak a little bit more clearly to recent American history, the free speech debate has largely been led by the political left. That's just where it's traditionally been. It's only been in recent years that's been the center right that has been under the scrutiny and the crosshairs from big tech, and the free speech debate has changed. But one of the things that has become pretty clear, this isn't just about, say, center-right politics, even though that might be where a lot of the energy and the passion around the free speech debate is at this moment. What we're already starting to find is these big tech giants, the woke culture, which, by the way, I do have to apologize to the Indian people for the U.S. exporting wokeism. It's probably our worst export that we've ever had. And so on behalf of the United States, I'm sorry, guys. We'll try to do better next time. But the fact of the matter is the wokeism in the big tech culture, they're not stopping with folks on the center right. Look at rapper Nicki Minaj, for example.
Right.
Who was put in digital timeout for simply questioning the effectiveness of some of the COVID vaccines, which, again, I think it's only right if people want to go and raise questions and demand answers from their medical professionals. And so Nicki Minaj does not qualify herself as someone who's in center-right politics. Look at Dave Chappelle, how they've tried to cancel him for his comedy special on Netflix, which, by the way, it's a pretty funny special. It's he does not take any prisoners in it. So if you're squeamish, then don't watch it. But Dave Chappelle's a very funny guy. And so this big tech woke culture, they're not stopping with the center right. They're going after everyone. But one of the things they're told that I'm most proud of is the fact that we have so many people who are coming together who they don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm Republican, or I'm Democrat, or I'm BJP, or I support Bolsonaro or oppose Bolsonaro, or I'm Tory, or I'm Labor. We have people who wake up and just want to express themselves, who don't want to be put in digital jail, who think that the political discrimination is wrong, and all users on these social media platforms should be treated equally. I look at Enes Kanter Freedom from the Boston Celtics, the professional NBA basketball team.
Yes.
Who's been an outspoken critic of President Xi and the CCP, calling for a free Tibet, calling for the Uyghur people to be released from the slavery that they're in and the forced labor camps and such. And he's someone who, I couldn't tell you what his politics are, but I do know he values free speech. That's who I think an ideal GETTR user is anyone who supports free speech and opposes cancel culture has a welcome place on our platform.
Wonderful. So, see, the conversation around GETTR, when I say conversation, I mean the narrative set by the people on the left side of the political spectrum, is that this is one right-wing echo chamber. That is the kind of narrative that they are trying to set. And that is why I asked the question: is it only for the people on the right side of the political spectrum, or it will invite everybody eventually? So I think you have given us a fair idea of what type of platform it is and what kind of people it welcomes. So anybody who is for free speech can come and join the GETTR. So that,
and I would add just real quick, one other important note for people to realize, especially for our friends in the Indian and broader Hindu communities around the world. The US only represents about 38% of GETTR's global user base. The rest of that, 60+% is international, all around the world. So this truly is an international platform of people from all communities and, and all cultures. And so I think that's really exciting. So it's the only echo chamber I think that's going on are with people saying we're tired of big tech and we want to declare our freedom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you think GETTR is going to become a worthy challenger to Twitter in coming, say, few months, few years? What do you think?
Well, that's what we certainly hope. We're approaching 4 million users just since the middle of last summer. So we're the fastest ever social media platform to 1 million, fastest ever to 2 million, fastest ever to 3 million. And now it looks like we're going to be the fastest ever platform to 4 million. In fact, we will hit 4 million before, say, for example, Facebook was even able to hit 1 million. So we're moving at a very aggressive clip. And I think that's because people have been looking for an alternative. But in the past, there have been a couple of issues. Number one, many people looked and said they didn't want to be on a platform that ultimately itself was deplatformed, like a Parler, or they looked and said, we don't want to be on something that's just some American social media platform, which I think GETTR is different, as I pointed out. Right. With the global reach and the fact that it's a 2/3 international, only 1/3 here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And I think also too, people have been waiting for what's something that's fun and engaging and has the functionality, because people might talk a good game when it comes to free speech, but if the user platform, the user experience isn't very good, if it looks clunky or outdated or not as sophisticated as the big tech platforms, people won't use it.
Right, right. Okay, Jason, and since I'm an Indian and you talked about India, also Hindus, a couple of times already. So what are your India plans? Are you planning to come here? Are you planning to get some more Indians on board, maybe get some influential Indians on board, say, or any influential Indian if he's joined GETTR?
Absolutely. So India is our biggest, where we see as our biggest focus for Q1 of 2022 for our international expansion. I plan on coming to India at the very beginning of February, beginning or middle part of February, to spend a few days and try to meet folks in the Delhi and Mumbai areas. So far, we probably have right around 100,000 or so Indians who are on the GETTR platform. We have a number of members from the Hindu ecosystem, which has been very enthusiastic so far. But part of it is to come in to India and additionally sign up more people, tell them about the benefits of the GETTR platform, and also look for some advertising and sponsorship opportunities, whether that be with sports outlets or with certain influencers who are on board, and showing people that there is the alternative. Because as we've seen with Twitter, it's only a matter of time, especially as we look ahead to the next set of Indian elections. And I know that obviously there's some coming up in right at the beginning of this year here, at least as far as in the regional states. It's only a matter of time till Twitter comes in and starts saying, you can have free speech, but you can't have free speech.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So all the best for your India expansion plans. Now, I'm a big Donald Trump fan, and I'm not going to mince my words here. I'm a huge Donald Trump fan. And in fact, Indians generally loved Donald Trump. In fact, there's a saying, popular saying in India, that if Donald Trump probably runs for an office in India, he's most probably going to win it. Because people really love Donald Trump, his outspoken attitude, because in India, the problem with politicians has been, I mean, before the advent of Prime Minister Modi, of course, was the overall political correctness. They wouldn't say that needed to be said, and which is what created a certain degree of distrust between people and people in office, the politicians. But Donald Trump, because of his no holds barred attitude, style, so people really loved Donald Trump here. And you have worked so closely with Donald Trump. So I, as a Donald Trump fan, and every Donald Trump who's watching this show, and we have a lot, what was your experience working with Donald Trump like? How is he like as a boss, as a person, of course, as the president, we all know?
Yeah, great question, since I had a front row seat for history for 2016 and 2020. And I always tell people that President Trump is different from any other politician that I've worked for, very unique in American history and maybe even unique in world history. I think that there's obviously a certain populist trait, whether it be that we've seen from President Trump or with the Brexit movement or with Bolsonaro or even Prime Minister Modi, where we've seen people really starting to embrace and say, we want to be proud of our respective countries. And we're tired of some of the overly political correct atmospheres that are ruining so much of our traditional respective cultures. But with President Trump, one of the best pieces of advice that I got when I joined his team in 2016 came from his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who said, take everything that you know about politics or think you know about communications that you've learned over the previous 20 years and throw it out the window. And I said, well, okay, well then why are you bringing me on board if you want me to throw out? And he goes, because I need someone who can work to build his message and amplify what he's doing, but not try to put words in his mouth or try to treat him like a typical politician. Right. And what I learned from President Trump is his mastery of understanding that people want immediate answers. People are tired of the political talk. They're tired of people who talk like politicians, the flowery language, the promises that never get delivered upon. And you have to be very bold and blunt and right to the point. There's not really any room for messaging nuance in this day and age when it comes to politics. People want bold, they want brash, they want declarative, and they want results.
Right.
And I think people in all countries feel like they've been let down by political leaders from both sides of the ideological aisle over the last couple of decades, as certain aspects of globalism have taken over, and a number of communities have been disrupted by whether it be bad trade deals or the erosion of traditional cultures, things of that nature. So I learned from President Trump to be very bold, very brash. And also the other thing too is have a little fun. People Absolutely. Like it when you smile, when you come up with fun things to do, when you that's one of the things that I've learned from President Trump. And so to steal a phrase of his or to paraphrase him, I would say we're trying to make social media fun again.
Wonderful. Make social media fun again. That's a great catchphrase. Okay. About another question about Donald Trump. See, 2022 is already here. You'll have the midterm elections soon. Then 2024, the presidential elections will be there as well. What do you think? Is he going to stage a comeback, or that was probably the last of Donald Trump that we saw? What do you think?
Yeah, great question. I still expect President Trump to run in 2024. I would say that I previously had said maybe somewhere between 99 and 100%. I wouldn't maybe go quite that strong. I still think it's very much more likely than not. It's the Republican nomination for president is his if he wants it. All the polling shows he's had by 50 to 60 points over his next nearest competitor on the Republican side. And what a lot of folks in India might not realize is that Joe Biden is literally at record historic lows for presidency at this point, between the hyperinflation, the southern border crisis, the energy crisis, the aggression of China, which I know India has a very acute awareness of, but the aggression of China, obviously the disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan.
That's true.
These are all problems that largely been created by Biden, not just happening under Biden, but created by Biden. And so I think the environment looks very favorable for a Trump return.
Right. So Joe Biden is possibly the president with the lowest approval ratings, if I'm not wrong, who is accompanied.
The absolute worst at this point in the presidency of anyone in American history. True. It's pretty disastrous. And I know that Biden has, when pressed on the issue, has said that of course, he's going to run again in 2024. But all of the Democratic insiders, the media pundits, realize that there's just no way that Democrats will let him be the leader. I mean, he just doesn't. Obviously, as an American, I want to have pride in our American president, whether or not I agree with him ideologically or we have differences of opinions. Right. But Biden doesn't look like he has all of his faculties together. You see him walking into bushes. You see him. It seems like he's nodding off, or he just stops mid-sentence, and it projects the very image of weakness.
Yeah. Right. He, in fact, recently started supporting the Let's Go Brandon movement as well, which was quite funny.
So the Let's Go Brandon for, which is the LGB community, which is, so people in India understand, there's a chant that is broken out at American football games and sporting events all around the country with I can't say the word on a family show like this, but blank Joe Biden, and blank Joe Biden, and then they clap a few times and blank Joe Biden, and they do it just ad nauseum at these games, and they break out in these chants of tens of thousands of people saying blank Joe Biden. So there's a NASCAR driving American driving sport there's a winner, Brandon Brown, and he won a NASCAR event, and the crowd was chanting "Blank Joe Biden" so loud in the background. But the NBC sports reporter interviewing the driver said, "Wow, you could even hear them saying, 'Let's go, Brandon.'" When you could hear, they were not saying "Let's go, Brandon." They were saying "Blank Joe Biden." And the reporter was panned, mocked mercilessly for it. But then "Let's go, Brandon" became kind of a rallying cry, but not just of a sign that people are not with Biden, but also kind of a mockery of the media. That this is how bad they want to cover up for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, "Let's go, Brandon" is quite popular in India as well. So,
good.
So we know the backstory. Okay. If I'm not wrong, Donald Trump is still to join GETTR, right?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
If I'm not wrong, because I haven't looked up Donald Trump on GETTR, but he's not there. If I'm not wrong, has he joined GETTR yet?
Correct. President Trump is not yet on GETTR. Obviously, I'd worked to try to get him onto our platform. Spoke with him a number of times about it. I made him a very, very lucrative deal to come on board, but unfortunately someone else came along with an even better deal. And so President Trump has said he's going to launch his own social media platform at some point in 2022. But here's the thing, Atul, that I wouldn't completely rule out. I still think there's a good possibility that President Trump comes and joins GETTR, especially as it takes longer for his platform to come out.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Because President Trump wants to have a voice. He wants to have a platform. He sees all the action, excitement, the fact that we're up to almost 4 million users. We just had Joe Rogan, Dr. Robert Malone, all these big names starting to join the platform. I think President Trump, there's a very good chance he'll come and join us.
Awesome. That's really good. And I hope Donald Trump joins GETTR soon. Okay. One question about India and US. Now, Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi, they had a great rapport. They were both, both technically outsiders. Prime Minister Modi was an outsider to the Delhi circle, the Delhi political class. He comes from Gujarat, which is a western state in India. Donald Trump, of course, he was a businessman. He was kind of an outsider to the American politics, and both of them bonded really well, and that also showed in the Indo-US ties. The Quad got stronger when Donald Trump was there. Donald Trump also paid a visit to India. He also went to Prime Minister Modi's home state. Now we see Quad has taken a backseat, which was the strongest and the biggest alliance against China, so to speak. It has taken a backseat because there is absolutely no initiative from Joe Biden's side. Also, he's trying to bring a lot of nonsensical things because Quad was not made for discussing, say, climate change or other woke things. So he started discussing in Quad meetings, he started discussing climate change and stuff. So Indo-US relations were obviously at an all-time high when Donald Trump was there. But with Biden in office, it has taken a backseat. I mean, it has decelerated a bit. So what do you think is the future of Indo-US relationship if Biden is to continue, or if let's say Democrats come again? I mean, we say Kamala Harris becomes the next president of the United States. What do you think is going to be the future of India and America's relationship?
Great question. I think it's a complex answer, but it shouldn't be. And the fact of the matter is that there is no Quad, there is no counterbalance against the rising aggression of China without a strong U.S.-India partnership. And again, the whole point of the Quad is not to go and take sides in the Kashmir dispute. It's not to go and say that countries can't embrace their traditions or to try to get in the middle of internal domestic politics. That's not what this whole alliance is about. This is about making sure that we have the counterbalance to the biggest threat to democracy and freedom in world history, which is communist China, and the rise in the way that essentially China is trying to divide the entire world. Under a Republican president, we're going to see the U.S.-India relationship continue to improve and to work very well together. But my concern is that under Democratic presidencies, at least for the near future, they're so caught up in kowtowing to their more vocal political bases, particularly with the Muslim American community.
Right.
We've seen this play out with the way that Democrats have now abandoned many of their Jewish allies to simply embrace Muslim allies. And which really, even that's probably the reason why President Trump received a record high level of Jewish American support in the 2020 presidential, because folks are so frustrated and annoyed by that. So the short answer is it's an important relationship. It should be a very good one, but I fear that under Democrat leadership, it's not going to be, only under Republican leadership.
Right. Okay, I believe we have come to the end of this discussion, but not before we get a message for our viewers, our folks in India who are watching you speak. What is your message for them about GETTR, about India, about America, about everything else under the sun?
To the people of India, I say, if you support free speech and you oppose cancel culture, and you also want to make social media fun again, if you're tired of 3 billionaires in Silicon Valley dictating your free speech rights, come and join GETTR, and you'll see not just the Hindu ecosystem and a number of the leaders who've started to join the GETTR platform. You're going to see a lot more Indians who start to join, and we've added in now. We also have the languages available in Hindi, in Bengali. We'll be adding Tamil in very shortly. So we'll have that. And when I come to visit in February, I look forward to meeting as many of you as possible. India is obviously a big country, so I can't see the entire place. But we realize just how important, especially that folks who are allied with whether it be the BJP or people who very much the Hindu ecosystem. We want to build allies, and look forward to seeing you next month.
Wonderful. And I look forward to meeting you, Jason, once you're here in India. And you're most welcome to visit our office as well.
Thank you, Atul. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. It was wonderful interacting with you, Jason. And I wish you and everybody at GETTR all the very best. May social media be fun again, and may you guys be Twitter at its game. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.